Welcome to DisCo Talk, talking all things all abilities. I'm LANA, the development manager at Disability Co.
And I'm ALYSSA, support worker and community content creator.
Today, we're talking a bit more about family.
Yeah, a bit more in depth, a bit more personal.
Definitely, a bit more personal. I think one of the things that we set out to do when we started this was to really open up conversation and to give opportunity for people to share their stories and experiences. And so we wouldn't be honouring that and doing it well if we didn't do it ourselves.
Yeah,
so that's what today's about.
Yeah, and I think, getting to know people in our community, getting to know you, and getting to know each other is really what community is about. So do you want to tell me a bit about your family?
Yeah, a bit. So I think I've mentioned previously, I grew up a family where I super privileged that my little sister has Down syndrome and she's the sunshine of our family. I'm one of 4 girls, and you certainly grow up with different dynamics when that happens. And I think of all the things that I learned growing up in my family, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but of course it's not always easy. That's family. Families are crazy and they're messy, and there's 102 different dynamics going on between your parents and your siblings and whatnot. But having someone with a disability in your family adds a different level of complexity and different dynamics altogether. At least for me, I know that did. And so that's, I guess, a bit about what I want to share today. And I hope that by sharing that someone else can relate to it and open up their conversation and their story about how they grew up and the dynamics in their place.
Yeah, and I think as we've touched on before, having your family and having diversity within your family and your inner circle can make you so much more empathetic or compassionate, and that's really nice. So whereabouts are you in the 4 girls?
So I am number 3 out of the 4 girls. My 2 older sisters are much older than myself, and they actually moved out when I was 5. So when we're talking about dynamics, I guess when my little sister was born, I had to grow up really quickly. And you think as a young kid, I then had to understand that there were so many other more important things going on in our house, in our community, in the world. And that happened from a very young age. Whereas I guess a lot of kids, the focus is on them and then making sure that they know how to do things in their life. And they don't often have to necessarily think about the broader world until maybe they get to 9 or 10 or sort of around those ages, and you can start opening up those dialogues with your kids. But when you're in a circumstance or a situation where that has to come from a lot younger, then it does develop different characteristics. And one thing that I found really similar in a lot of other families that I meet and speak to is that there's that opportunity for greater compassion and greater empathy and greater tolerance in people that are different to yourself, not only when we speak about disabilities, but in different cultures, in different religions, in different ethnicities. You understand there's a much broader, greater scale of human in the world from a lot younger age. And that's beautiful. I think that is something that I wouldn't absolutely change for the world, learning that from so young. And I feel it would benefit everyone to learn those things.
Have diversity.
In a greater way. And of course, diversity in general was a massive topic. But the world needs more empathy.
Yeah.
And this is where opening up this dialogue and this conversation, and particularly with something like your book with kids and having disability awareness in primary schools and things like that, it's a really resourceful way to then open up kids' eyes to diversity in different areas.
Yeah, and I think not even in the education sector, but also just having it in mainstream media as well. Yeah. Having, whether it's disability or not, just having different bodies and different people in our media, whether it's movies, whether it's the news, whether it's, what sort of toys kids are having, things like that. So I think
Kmart just brought out a great range.
Yeah, I love I brought all of them. I was very excited, and my nieces have really been enjoying them. And I think, in a non-educational way, like my book, also bringing it into mainstream media, and I see it slowly happening, but it's certainly come a long way.
It's certainly come a long way. I think then one of the other things that, you've got the things that you learn as a family when you've got someone with disability in your family, but then there's all these peripheral things that happen that you need to accommodate in your life that I don't think I would have any other way. So for example, support workers in your home. If you step back and think about someone regularly coming into your home to support someone who's one of the most vulnerable people in your family, that's a bit of an intimidating thought. And I completely understand when we have new participants come in, join us, and we're sending out brand new support workers, it's really daunting.
It can be.
Or if someone is getting NDIS funding for the first time and reaching out for help, and it's the first time ever that they've had a support worker, it can be really daunting. Have you had people where it's the first time you've gone into their home and their space? And
yeah,
yeah,
I definitely had conversations with the participants I work alongside as well, with most of them, that it can be like, it's obviously a scary thing, but also being a support worker, sometimes I get a little bit nervous, and I think that's a good thing because you want to do a good job. But I can get a little bit nervous when I'm meeting someone new, are they going to like me as well? And wanting to do my best for them. But everyone I've met and everyone I work with, I adore, and we have a good relationship like that, and
they adore you.
You could say that, but I think one thing, and maybe I don't know, we've had a conversation about it before, and I don't know if it's because I am a bit younger. I have been to places where maybe the support worker wasn't available that day, and I've jumped in to help out, and I've been questioned on what I'm doing. So I've had someone ask me, what are you studying? What do you do with yourself? And I kind of turned around and I went, I do this, this is my job, and this is what I do. And they were, I don't know if it's because I was so young or what sort of stigma is around support workers, especially that one-on-one, not so much day services and things, but that one-on-one that you can have. And I was a bit taken back, and I sort of explained that to them. They asked me what I do, and I sort of told them my hobbies, but I said, this is what I do, and this is what I plan on doing. I don't know have you ever had that thought that maybe people see casual support workers in the NDIS as, or maybe even people see the job itself as kind of a stepping stone, whether they're studying something separate from disability at university, or whether they're going from one job to another, because NDIS one-on-one jobs is a casual job. It's not something that you can do part-time and have a part-time contract like that, but it's definitely something that I enjoy and I will continue to do. What do you think of that?
I think it's certainly this misconception or stigma that it is a stepping stone or a temporary solution whilst you are on your path, on your alternate career path. And there's certainly some people that, of course, have long-term careers, but I don't think that's necessarily the first thought when someone thinks of a support worker that that's their long-term career. They, like you said, people straight out ask you, all right, so what are you studying? What's your other plans? It's like, no, this is my career. This is it. And that should change, because at the end of the day, if you're really passionate about it, you're going to do a fantastic job, and you do a fantastic job. And that is what's necessary, because then again on my side as a family member and a stranger coming into the home, it's daunting, but it's also they're in my safe space.
Yeah.
I remember a circumstance where we had a support worker and she was good and we had her for a little while, but I remember we had a friend over and we were about to go to the park, and I must have been about 8 or 9. And my friend and I, we put sunscreen on, we're about to go, and she goes, I put some sunscreen on, and go, I did. And she goes, no, you're lying, put some on. And straight away, and I still remember it now, I was so taken aback that someone would accuse me of lying in my own home, where I should feel safe and okay. And I absolutely pleaded with her. I'm like, I'm not lying. I promise you we did it. She goes, no, I don't believe you. Put put sunscreen on.
It's crazy that that's stuck with you for so
yeah,
long.
Yeah, it is a bit, but it's those things where a good support worker knows how important it is to make sure that the people that they're with feel safe.
Yeah, knowing the boundaries as well, and knowing that although it is your workspace as well, it's someone's home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the siblings, for the parents, for everyone else there, you're not just supporting that one person, you're helping that whole family. And so just having that awareness around that is really important, because it can make or break that relationship. It can bring help, or it can hinder, or it can harm. And so I think people knowing, and people that are dedicated to doing it as their full career and doing it with all of their passion is so important, because they're going to execute on those things a lot better and be so much more aware of the impact that they're truly making. And we have some phenomenal support workers that still come to all the family birthdays, and they're part of the family. A good support worker becomes part of your family. And that's how it should be. It's not always the norm, but that's what we're working towards. People that are truly there to help, to empower, and to support for everyone who needs it. And I really hope that, particularly with what we do here, that our support workers, of course, are doing that and are passionate, and we can hopefully, who knows, one day be able to offer stronger contracts that helps them have more job security, so then they can do something that they love with that greater security for them and their families.
Yeah.
But also just things like this, opening up the conversation. I know I wouldn't be the only one that's just a little story there with sunscreen, and there's probably a bazillion more, but I'm not the only one with stories. I want to hear everyone else's stories as well. And doing something like this is just the start, just the tip of the iceberg of all the conversations that probably need to be had out there.
Yeah, and I wonder when we were talking about kind of, it being seen as a casual job, which it is, I wonder, as that's not really NDIS providers, don't have control of that. Yeah. And I wonder in the future without NDIS, whether that's something that can be implemented, that people who are looking for support for themselves are able to be able to get
almost if they have enough funding that they can opt to give their regular support workers stronger contracts.
Or not even that, but for them to have the benefits of having someone, because in real fact, I don't know how it all work, but would you need more funding? Because a part-time job offers, it's all different, isn't it? When we're talking about like job security and stuff as well. But the benefits behind that and have that option as well as a participant who's with the NDIS to be able to do that when they do find someone that they really like.
Yeah.
And sort of, yeah.
I would love to be able to see that change in the NDIS, that there's some way, and look, again, I don't know the answers, we don't have the answers, we don't know how it would work, but where, if someone did really want to be able to keep a support worker on long term, and the support worker wanted the exact same thing, that there was a way in the system that
an option,
that better contracts could be provided. And so I don't know how that would look, but that would benefit everyone. And I guess it's these things. Let's face it, the NDIS is still really new. It's only since 2014. So there's a lot of things to still work out, and there's still a long way to go. In saying that, we've come a long way from a few decades ago, and we have to be grateful for that, but there's still a long way to go. And opening up these different conversations of what could bring benefit, why not?
Yeah.
Why not have them? So if you have a story or something that you want to share, whether it's to do with your family, how you grew up, your own experience, or just a story that you would really like to get out there, we would love to hear it. We read absolutely everything, every comment, every message that gets sent to us, and be such an honor to hear your story. So please make sure that whatever platform you are watching on or listening on, feel free to reach out to us.
You've been listening to DisCo Talk. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.